What up, it's Super Saiyan Floku. It's time that you end your victimization. It's time you end it once and for all. Because you have to build a character that is inspiring in terms of merit, not victimization. VICTIM. I am me because of them, a victim. Yeah, a victim. Yeah. Victimization is this idea that you want to host a pity party and you want others in misery to join you. This is not what I'm saying, my friends. What I'm saying is you've got to understand that you are not the victim, but you are the artist of your own experience. You're the creator and the manifester of your own life. Watch this video.
Yeah. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, which means I'm a flow state coach who helps you feel better and perform better. Today I'm talking about the end of society is victimization, okay? Now really start to understand this. When you start to point fingers at yourself and say that you're a victim, it's not that you have a confidence problem, okay? It's the fact that you have a really messed up learning strategy. If you ever had this, let's say that something messes up, let's say you go out and a girl flakes on you, or you go somewhere and you don't get something your way, you reach a quote-unquote failure. But the problem there is you choose to dwell on that failure, okay? You choose to stay there and tell yourself that, oh, this is exactly how it is. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. And so you dwell on it, and through the repetition, you start to convince yourself that that is your reality. Because guess what? That's how affirmations work too. But when we dwell on something, we're telling our subconscious mind that that is the learning strategy that we're using. So if something messes up and we tell our brains we keep focusing on that thing, guess what? We're actually starting to rewire our learning strategy towards that thing. So the best way for you to get out of victim mentality is to work and understand that this is a world that is based on merit. You do something, you gain a skill set, and then you get an advantage in that one arena. But if you're doing something and you're expecting people to just give you stuff in handouts without actually co-creating, that's going to be a problem. You see, there's rehearsal confidence, there's learning confidence, there's compassion confidence. What's compassion confidence? Let's say that you are in a situation where someone is yelling at you. Compassion confidence is this idea that, hey, that person, let's say a woman is yelling at you, you understand that's someone's sister, right? That's someone's daughter. That's someone who might be a future mother. You understand that they've just been hurt, and so they're yelling right now. But that is not all of them. You've got to learn to humanize people. That's compassion confidence. What is learning confidence? Through learning about something, you start to get more acuity and knowledge about that subject, and you start taking action on it, right? Because the thing is, you can activate a specific part of your brain. Like let's say that you have an ability to grow a beard, okay? I'm not saying you can activate your genetics, that's kind of ridiculous. But what I am saying is, let's say you change your mindset that gets you to take the specific actions that get you to raise your testosterone, which then will get you to grow a beard, okay? So what I'm saying is you can actually activate the predominant parts that are hidden, unless you have like some kind of genetic mutation. I'm not talking about that. But all I'm saying is, let's say all your family has beards, you have the ability to have a beard, but you've got to work on it, right? You've got to actually understand that there are certain actions that you can take that's going to raise your testosterone, raise your DHT levels, and T levels, and then get you to actually grow a beard, right? So this is what I'm talking about, is a lot of people, they feel like, oh, it's just genetics. I'm suffering because of my genetics. I'm suffering because of my circumstances. I'm suffering because there's something external out there controlling the internal world in some way. Now, this is the mindset that I want you to change out of and start to understand that you can actually have a responsibility that you take for yourself. And once you start taking more responsibility in your life, you start actually changing the factors up. Okay? There is this big idea in culture about getting rid of competition. I think that's kind of weird. Okay? Because we as people, we evolve through competition, right? We wanted to be better than other people. That's how we evolved. If we take that part away from us, and hey, I agree, ego is bad, right? But I wouldn't say ego is bad by itself. I think facilitated ego. You gotta facilitate it. You gotta understand how to use it in a proper way. Because the moments of my life where I made the major shifts of my life, those are the moments where I most worked on my ego creation. Right? I was creating the character of who I wanted to be, and that allowed me to step into that role. So let's say that you're a painter, but you don't believe that you're a painter. Well, you're not going to get the results of actually painting and doing a good job, right? Because you don't actually embody that factor, and the fact is you're treating it not seriously, meaning you're taking it as a hobby, and you're not really fully stepping in to doing it full time or doing it with all of your energy. Right? Like as I make these YouTube videos and I do it with all my energy, I'm gonna be noticing more results than if I just do it part-time and I'm kind of making videos each day. Right? There's a vibe attached to the activity that you're doing. So this is how you really step out of the victim mentality is you start taking responsibility for what you can do, what you can control. That's what Stoicism actually is as a philosophy, right? Is the fact that, there are certain elements of my life that I can control. And there's certain areas that I can't. I'm not gonna focus on what I can't control, I'm gonna focus on what I can control. And that's the basic premise, that's like Stoicism 101, okay? So really start to ask yourself, are you getting around a company of people and a group of people that's making you feel in misery, making you feel toxic, making you feel like you can't do enough because you're trying new things and you're sharing it with them, but they keep shutting you down. Well, if that's the case, then you're not going to get that momentum and that energy to actually move forward, right? You're not going to get in that rehearsal space where you can actually be in the movie of your life and actually start to change things around and do things that will make you feel good. So this element of like, in culture, we have this culture right now where, you get a participation trophy just for showing up. Okay, we are not competing anymore. There's no winner or loser anymore. It's like everyone is accepted and it's this all-inclusive virtue signaling culture where we feel like, just because they're a human being, I have to respect them. That's not true necessarily, okay? Because you need to learn how to earn respect with certain people. And you only want to earn respect with people that you want to be like, or you want to aspire to be like. You don't need to learn to earn respect with people that is just there, right? They're just there for merely showing up. And that is okay to like have a certain sense of value, but understand that that momentum of competition is what is going to move you and push you towards actually taking the action steps. And let's say you're starting a business, you're Coke, and you understand that you could easily get a job at Pepsi. Now you know what your worth is, right? Now you know what your worth is because your competition wants you. Now you understand that there is a competition out there, so I've got to stay and put my focus into Coke, and Coca-Cola, I mean in this case. Whereas if I went and moved to Pepsi, it would be almost a betrayal, right, of my brand. So understand that if you have a certain brand, there's going to be other people in that brand who is going to try to compete with you. That's completely valid. That's completely normal that you're going to get that. Okay, you're going to have other brands that are going to try to outsell you, try to outdo your performance. Maybe they're even going to copy you in certain instances. Maybe they're going to steal your employees from you. This is just human nature. It's just we want to compete, we want to get the most resources. That is what we are here for, right? We are here to make the most resources. And the fact that we want more offsprings is so that our offsprings can make more resources. And that's just what is in our subconscious minds. If we're looking at ourselves as a tribe and a tribal culture, that's what we're here for, right? We don't necessarily need to follow like the whole idea that we have to be a leader of men, because again, if you're in a certain kind of culture where there's no leadership position and it's kind of a vague line of hierarchy, then you're not going to want to come along and be like, oh, I'm the person who's on top now, because it doesn't really matter compared to their hierarchy. It doesn't really make sense for you to come along and be like, yo, this is my way or the highway, because the context of where they're working from isn't even in your mentality. It isn't even in the field of skill set that you want to gain, right? So if you want to make, like they always say this, right? Network is your net worth. Well, the thing is, like, where do you want to really be, right? What do you want and where do you really want to be? This is the most important question, is what are the rules of my life and how can I start to live by those rules? Because a lot of people might come along and be like, nah, do it differently, do it this way, try it this way, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? Everybody has something to say, everybody has an opinion. But if you can get strong on your why, strong on your core, then you start getting out of that victim mentality, because you're no more relying on other people's frames of the world. You're creating your own frame of the world, and that's what is so empowering. Because if you can be like, yo, this is my frame of the world, I see people as maximizers. And if I see people as maximizers, guess what? Someone who's not a maximizer, I'm going to cut them out, right? And that might sound a little bit ruthless, but start to understand this, that other people in your life, if you have a certain value, let's say that your value is honesty, and someone breaks your honesty, isn't it just that much easier to cut them out of your life because they lied? Now, sure, I believe in second chances and all of these kinds of things, but at the same time, it's like you are understanding that I don't tolerate these certain kinds of behaviors, because behavior is not fossilized, right? Behavior is not something that is stuck and it's this end result. It's not a static thing, it's a dynamic thing. Behavior keeps changing over time. So if you're judging someone on their behavior right now, it can change in the future, right? So that's what I want you to also understand, is like, don't judge people based on how they're sinning at the moment, like based on how they're doing certain things at the moment, because it can always change. Opinions can always change, ideas can always change, right? So what you really want to do to step out of the victim mentality is you want to understand that, how am I using the fact that something bad happened to me, but I'm also correcting certain attributes and different things that I'm changing in myself. That's when you go from victim to victor, right? That's when you go from, oh, it's lie me, to a try me energy, right? Because the lie me energy is like, oh no, it's always me, it always happens to me, I feel bad, right? But if you understand that, okay, a try me energy, or even in the energy of like, okay, what can I do to change my behavior around? That is what is going to optimize you in this particular way, because it's not necessarily like, what is persuasion, right? If you think of persuasion is not like trying to get someone to do something for you. That might come in a later stage, but what persuasion really is you want people to feel more emotional states around you, right? Certain emotional states, certain flow states, you could even say, right? So let's say that you want someone to be more suggestible. I mean, think about this, right? I dye my hair, right? And the thing about it is, like, that's a pattern interrupt, right? And it's gonna make people more suggestible. And I'm aware of this factor because I'm an influencer at the end of the day, right? So I understand that pattern interrupts make people more suggestible. It's just the norm, right? And the thing about it is, the way that people pay more attention to someone is when you get paid more. Because more eyes are on you, more ears are on you, right? You're getting this momentum hyped up in a certain paradigm. So that's how you build a lot more persuasion in life. There's this thing called persuasion too. Robert Cialdini talks about this idea in his book, Persuasion, where even before persuasion, there is this conditioning phase, right? Or a trigger phase where you get conditioned into some kind of idea. So let's say that you go on a page, let's say you go to a website and you have like certain coins in the corner and you have like buy now and all of these different things. That is entering your subconscious mind as you're scrolling through that page, right? Buy now, little pictures of money, right? Little identifiers in the corners of the page and different tabs and different things on the website itself that gets you to add to cart and buy. A lot of websites have this persuasion where even before they're buying, there is a priming effect that's taking place where people are more suggestible, more open to buy different things, right? So I always ask people this: what do you want to make people feel? Right? If you have a certain brand, if you want to stop being a victim, you gotta understand that what do you want to make people feel? Right? Because as a victim, you're making people feel a certain way. Right? As a victim, you're making people feel pity for you. You're making people feel that you're not good enough to be around. You're making people feel that you always need help and you're entitled, towards them always helping you out in every situation. But if you're a winner, what are you signifying and broadcasting to the world? You've already had success. You've accomplished many different things, right? So what do you want to make people feel? Maybe you want to make people feel more open around you. Well, you've got to start to behave in a more open way. You've got to use language, right? Language patterns that signify to be more open. And as you start speaking, you start using the language of openness as you were speaking to get people to enunciate and really focus on those states of beingness. You know what I'm saying? I asked my friend, and he was talking about, he's feeling so relaxed. That's better than saying, oh, relax, and trying to be suggestible and hypnotic in your language, right? Because as you're using quotes, as you're using other analogies and stories and things like this, you can actually get people to be a lot more on your side and a lot more on your squad as you're doing that. So this is the secret of suggestibility, where you gotta understand that there's certain people who are gonna be more suggestible than others. And you got to be the one who steps up at certain moments of the time where you understand that this is exactly what I need to do to take this conversation forward, to change this person's mind, to take this rejection and make it into a redirection, right, in a different way. And you want to really be fine-tuning this every single time that you feel like someone rejects you. Or let's say that you do feel like the victim, like you do feel like taken advantage of in a situation. If you stay there and you dwell there, you're giving yourself that learning strategy, like I said at the beginning of this video, right? So instead of that messy learning strategy, you want to give yourself a better learning strategy that actually overrides that old pattern of where you're dwelling on it, you feel bad about yourself, and you don't feel good enough, and all these things. So this is what I want you to learn through this video. I hope that this video gave you a new perspective, a new lens to see the world, because it's all about looking at the world through your own unique lens. If you are a painter, you see the world as a painting. If you are a chiropractor, you see the world as things that you can maneuver and bend and crack and help people with their posture, right? If you are a sports athlete, you see the world as sports, you see the world as movement and competition. And competition is actually very, very important. That gets you towards understanding that, okay, there's certain areas of my life right now that is going to help me with my momentum. There's certain moments of my ego that is going to help me because I know that this is about my character creation, right? But first of all, it's not about self-improvement, it's about self-destruction. So you gotta rebuild yourself. You gotta take your old self, put it in the dustbin, drag it into trash, and build from scratch at times, right? Because you understand that, that is also a pattern interrupt. That is, people are gonna be challenging me as I step into this new persona and I try doing new things, okay? So this is what it's all about. I hope this video helped you out today. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it today, guys. Boom.